Hi everybody, my name is Susie Evans and I'm Miss Virginia USA 2020. I'm actually from Poquoson. I grew up here. I went to Poquoson Elementary School, Poquoson Middle School, and I graduated from Poquoson High School in 2011. I went on to study filmmaking at Lindenwood University, which is in St. Charles, Missouri. And after that, I went to work for Disney in Tokyo, Japan. So I took a plane all the way across the world, moved all of my stuff to a very different culture in a very big city right outside Tokyo, and I worked there for 2 years with Disney in entertainment. So I was able to dance, act, be on stage, be on moving boats as a performer. I did a lot of different things while I was there, but I will say that I was very close friends with some of the Disney princesses that you might actually know. So I spent a lot of time with Snow White, Rapunzel, Belle, and Ariel. And I got to know a lot of different people, a lot of fun experiences working for Disney. But one of the things that I want to talk about is getting to that point in my life. So I had to set a lot of goals, not only to become Miss Virginia USA, but also to get my job at Disney, to go to college, and to have all of the experiences that I've had in the past 26 years. So at 13, I competed in my first pageant, and I actually was pretty bad at it. And I want to tell you guys that because it's important to remember that failure is a big part of success. If you have success on your first time trying something, that is amazing. That's so great and you should be really proud of yourself. But if you fail the first or second, third, fourth time, or if you keep failing at something but you're getting better and you're working hard despite those failures, then when you get to that successful point, when you're doing that thing that you're trying to achieve, it's gonna feel so much better. You're gonna feel so accomplished. You're gonna feel so great about your hard work, and you're really gonna feel like you earned whatever it is that you just had success in. For me, that was becoming Miss Virginia USA. As I said, I did my first pageant at 13 years old, and I forgot my own name on stage. I didn't even know that I had stage fright until I got on stage and realized that I had stage fright. So I didn't want to give up though. I really wanted to become Miss Virginia USA, or I wanted to have a crown and sash at that time. I didn't really know the depth or the job description of what it would take to actually be a title holder. So I worked really hard. I would go back each year and I got a little bit better each time. And at 17 years old, I won Miss Virginia Teen USA. And the best part about that was that it paid for my college in St. Charles, Missouri. I moved out there and I went to school there for 4 years, and it paid for my tuition. So one of the things that I want to talk to you guys about is how I started to set small goals in order to achieve this long-term goal. So one of the things that I did in middle school was I wanted to audition for a solo and chorus, but I was so nervous. I didn't want to be laughed at. I didn't know if my voice was good or bad. I was totally uncomfortable in front of people unless I was pulling a prank. If I was pulling a prank, I was confident. But if I had to sing in front of people, I was so nervous and I just didn't think I could do it. But I came home with the music in hand and I worked really, really hard to learn this part for a solo in Miss Eberly's music class. And so when I came back a few days later, I decided to get up in front of my class and sing the solo that I didn't get, but I achieved my goal of getting in front of my class to audition for a solo. So that for me was a huge success. And you know what? Even though I didn't get that solo, I got a solo later that year. It was a very small part, but it was my first time singing in front of an audience and being able to actually get words out. Because it can be very frightening, very nerve-wracking getting on stage and being in front of people, and it wasn't a skill that I had mastered at that time. So setting short-term goals like that, even if it's auditioning for something in music class, even if you don't get it, it's a step in the right direction. And now a medium range goal. For me, today, I do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So I do martial arts and I absolutely love it. So one of the things that I wanted to do was actually compete in a competition. And I had been working so hard. I was dedicating so many hours a week to training, to eating healthy, to nourishing my body to make sure I could be extra strong and extra tough mentally for a competition. And I committed about 3 or 4 months to a specific training schedule, and I simulated the experience of competition where people would be watching you, your heart rate would be elevated, and I went out on the mats and I did amazing. I really did so good for somebody who had never competed in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu before. My heart was racing, I felt nervous, and I didn't know what to expect from my opponents. But what I can say is that I knew that nobody in that room had worked as hard as I worked, because I was the one showing up to practices at 6 a.m., 5 days a week, and then coming in for the evening class if I could. Nobody was nourishing their body the way that I was nourishing my body, because I took extreme care of all the food that I was going to be eating, because I wanted to be the healthiest that I could be. And I took the competition very, very seriously leading up to that day, so that on the day of the competition, I didn't have to worry about anything externally. I just had to focus on doing my best every single day or every single match and going in and doing well. And that's exactly what I did. So I worked hard leading up to the day of my goal. And then the day of the goal, I was already prepared to just have success. And of course, when you're fighting Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or anything, there's no way to have a perfect match. There's no way to be completely prepared, and you're gonna have failure. You're not gonna succeed 100%, but you can do your very, very best and feel totally confident, successful, and proud of yourself, knowing that you showed up and you worked 110% the whole way leading up to that competition. And that's exactly what I did. And that would be an example of a medium range goal. It took me about 4 or 5 months to be completely prepared for that experience. And 2 long-term goals that I'll tell you about. So, well, one of them was becoming Miss Virginia USA. And this is my most recent goal that I have actually achieved. I won back in January of this year. And prior to this, something that was really, really great for me that I worked really hard for was Tokyo Disneyland, working out there. I was not the best performer. I didn't have the most training. I didn't have the most experience by any means. And when I first got to Japan, I realized that I was probably the least qualified person to be a performer there. And I had to work so hard every single day to make sure that I would still have my job, because I didn't want to leave Japan. I didn't want to get removed from my position because I wasn't as prepared as maybe they thought I was, or maybe I thought I needed to be. So I showed up and I worked hard every single day to be the best performer that I could be. I would put in extra time. I always worked hard and continued to practice. Even at home when I wasn't working, I would practice on new skills that would help me advance my career at Tokyo Disneyland. And they offered for me to stay an extra year after my very first contract. So I ended up staying for 2 years in Japan because of my work ethic. They even told me that it was because of my optimism and my work ethic that they allowed me to stay a second year. So those are things to keep in mind when you're setting these long-term goals, is that you have to work really hard every single day. And also, it doesn't hurt to be passionate about what you're doing. So I love performing now. So I was loving what I was doing. It was very hard work, but it was something I was passionate about. And becoming Miss Virginia USA was something that I knew was a dream. I knew I wanted to do it. I wanted to go to Miss USA and be able to say, Susie Evans, Miss Virginia USA. And so I worked really, really hard for the past almost 20 years to achieve my dream of becoming Miss Virginia USA. And I'm 26 years old right now. And most people win Miss Virginia when they're like 21, 22, or maybe even 23 years old. But for me, it was something that took me a little bit longer because I wanted to be as prepared as I could be to take on this position. I wanted to know exactly who I was. I wanted to know exactly what I stand for. I wanted to be educated. I wanted to be confident on stage, and I wanted to have all of the skills I needed to be a good Miss Virginia USA. And for me, that took me until I was 26 years old to feel like I really knew who I was and I had the skills to hold this title with respect and to do a good job as Miss Virginia USA. So something that I'm really passionate about and I want to talk to you guys before I go is just some of the things that I do to keep a positive mindset and to progress and continue setting goals and continue feeling grateful for the things that I've accomplished. And so some of those things here, I have some vision boards that I like to create, and this is something that you guys can do this summer that I think would be really good. Maybe you can get magazines or print some pictures off from the internet about things that inspire you. So I've actually put a lot of quotes on here from different books that I've read that have helped me become the person that I am, the person that I'm so proud to be. I've read a lot of different books that helped me really understand what I want and what I want to achieve in life and who I want to be in life as well, the kind of person that I want to be. So I included quotes from different books that I like. I put strong women who I love, who I look up to as comedians or as philanthropists, different people that I really admire, and different things that I want to keep in mind. And so I keep these up in my room and I look at them for motivation. Something else that I would recommend to you guys is having a notebook and using it as a way to write down your goals or write down the things that you dream about, and even use it as like a game plan. So if you write down a long-term goal and then you break down your medium range goal and your short-term goal and you figure out what it is that you want to do to get to that long-term goal. And then something else that I like to do is write down the things that I'm grateful for. So I actually have a book that I write what I'm grateful for, and this one kind of goes through the different themes of what you would want to talk about for that day, and it forces me to think about all the positive things that I do have going on in my life right now, because I know that sometimes right now life can be really hard and it can be really challenging, but we do have so much to be grateful for. So having a little journal that you can just write down the things that you are grateful for is a great way to keep a positive mindset. All right, everybody, I hope you have a great day and a great summer, and hopefully I'll see you around town. Goodbye.